Assalamu alaikum. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to get your idea or your design custom manufactured. So first of all, you need to identify the problem that your product will be fixing. So this could be an adjustment that you're making to an already existing product that's out there already and being sold by other companies and other businesses, and you are simply adding and tweaking the design. Also, don't forget to check out the feedback of your competitors, because feedback from your competitors, which will be in the reviews and in comments, you can use that feedback as well to adjust your product even before you manufacture it. So whether you're adding features to it, taking features away, adding some sort of specifications to it that don't currently exist. And of course, this could fix a completely different problem when you end up adjusting it in some way. You could be making an improved version or an improved quality of a particular product that's already out there, or it could be a completely unique mechanism or some sort of tool that people can use. So there are many different problems that products can fix. So I'm going to quickly go through a list of different types of problems that products fix on a daily basis. Functionality and utility. So this could be a daily problem people face, and your product could be a gadget or some sort of tool that fixes a particular problem, something like a can opener. Another problem could be comfort or convenience. This could be, a cushion or some sort of back support. So people that, sit in offices in chairs like this, there are special little products that can be put at the back of a chair to, provide better posture, better back support. It could be an economical problem it's fixing. So for example, having a product that's multifunctional and can be used for many different things, or it could be a product that reduces the need to repurchase things over and over again. So for example, reusable cups or utensils. Another problem is entertainment. Entertainment and leisure is, it's not a very serious problem, but it's still a problem that technically is being fixed with different games or, even YouTube channel. Many people use YouTube as a form of entertainment, and that's also fixing a problem, loneliness and boredom, for example. So an example of an entertainment product could be board games or some sort of, Islamic games even. I've recently seen, a card game with very interesting questions that makes people pass their time in a more valuable way. Another problem a product could fix is health and well-being. This could be supplements. So currently I'm working with a client who's working on a supplement for the Muslim community. So it's a halal product, and something that she has found is not out there at the moment, and that's specifically to do with the combination of the different elements within that particular supplement. And that's something that's best done in your own country, simply because of regulatory and compliance legal issues. Another problem that products can fix is ethical and social environmental issues. So for example, making a product that's more energy efficient or water saving, or something that's a lot more durable, or something that has less of an impact on the environment. Another very strong problem to solve is something that's related to people's well-being, mental health, psychological health, and general overall well-being. So for example, fidget toys is something that helps people stress relieve or prevents children from fidgeting in the classrooms. That's another product that's related to, it's kind of entertainment, but at the same time it's also for mental well-being. And another sector that thrives very well, and a problem that your product could solve, is design and aesthetics. Now, things like clothing, even though it's something we need every day, it varies based on design and personal preference and aesthetics. And household related products also come under this. For example, different throws and cushions and art pieces, sculptures, things like that. These would come under aesthetics and design. So these are just some ideas that you could take on board when coming up with the problem that you want your product to solve. Unfortunately, in this video, I won't be covering anything to do with anything that's very technically, mechanically engineered. So certain tools or certain programs or softwares, or anything that requires a very highly skilled individual, basically an engineer, to develop. So we're mainly talking about products that, are already kind of out there, and you just want to adjust them. You just want to, customize them a little bit to your own liking or to your audience's liking, but also things that you can custom make that may have some sort of new feature or function without having an expert engineer work on the actual mechanics of product. So as you're working on your design, I highly recommend that you question yourself and ask yourself, would you actually purchase this if you had this issue? And ideally, you do have this problem that you want to fix, and you need to ask yourself, would you purchase this particular product? And then do a lot of research. Ask people that are similar to yourself, or people that you think would purchase this product. You can make a questionnaire and just randomly send it out to people you know and see what their feedback is. Would they be willing to purchase a product like this? Do they feel like this product is actually needed in the market? So the next thing you need to work on is the actual technical design of the product itself and the elements it has and the features it has. Now, if it's a product that's very unique and isn't something that you can just quickly adjust, then the best thing to do is manufacture it where you are. Find somebody who is able to produce that product for you, just one prototype, so that you can test it, you can tweak it, and you can adjust it until you are happy with the product, and then you can send it off to a manufacturer for them to copy it. So for example, with clothing, I have found somebody in the UK in the past to, work on a product that I want. I can physically be there while they're making it. And once I'm happy with the design, I'm happy with the measurements and the way it looks on the body, I can then send that particular product over to a manufacturer in a different country who can then bulk and mass produce this product. So definitely consider making it where you are right now, just to make sure that it's exactly what you need, because it's very difficult to translate exactly what's in your mind to somebody who's not even with you in the same room, in the same country, and just typing it up and having drawings sometimes isn't enough. So if it's a very unique product, it's definitely best that you make it where you are there and then, so that you can tweak it and adjust it to your liking, and that will give the manufacturers a very good idea of the materials that's used, the mechanics, the features, and whatever else that product requires. And before you send that product off anywhere, or before you actually go ahead and contact a supplier about the product or the design, make sure you get some sort of prototype either made physically, or have a design on paper or a mock-up done on the computer by a graphic designer, just to give your manufacturers the best idea with all the measurements, everything, the materials that you require for that product. This will give the best idea for your manufacturer of exactly what you need, and that will automatically decrease the risk of any sort of errors in production and making the sample. So if you do need help when it comes to mock-ups and the designs, feel free to contact us at Muslim Business Services. We've got graphic designers on board that can make mock-ups for you, but especially if you've got a very unique and custom product, I highly recommend that you start your business with a brand, and brand everything that you're making, from the packaging to the product to your social media. So if you do require help with mock-ups or branding, feel free to contact us at Muslim Business Services, and the graphic designers on our team would be happy to take on your project. But if your product is something that's very minor and a very minor adjustment or added features to an already existing product that's already out there, then move on to step 3, which is researching the production of your product. So whether you plan to manufacture your product within your country, at home, or abroad, either way, you need to research and see, if your product is very unique and very technical, is it even possible to make? Are there materials out there that can make your product? So you can find out if it's possible to even make your product by communicating with lots of different suppliers. I've got a free list with different ways to find manufacturers and suppliers, and I'll link it under this video. And many of you have downloaded my modest clothing supplier list, but if you are looking for a modest clothing manufacturer that can custom make your products, so I've also compiled a list of modest clothing manufacturers that can custom make your designs, and I'll link it under this video as well. So when you're communicating with the manufacturers and you are doing your research, make sure you're speaking to a lot of different manufacturers, and you want to get the cost price for production, you want to get the quotes for shipping, and you want to know what the minimum order quantity, the MOQ, is for custom made products. Now, you definitely will need a decent amount of money to invest for a custom made product, and that can range from a few £100, £500-600, to a few £1,000, depending on the cost per unit of the product you're trying to make. Once you've got an average cost for the product, you then need to consider the shipping costs and any customs charges that you will have when you ship the product to yourself. And you need to also add your profit to that, and then do research to see what the market is selling that product at the moment. Or if it's a very unique product, something that's as close as you possibly could find that's out there already. That will give you a good indication of what people are willing to pay for your product. Because if the cost of manufacturing that product is so high that there is no room for profit for yourself left, then unfortunately something needs to get adjusted to bring that price down. And of course, with manufacturers, the higher quantity that you're ordering, the cheaper the cost per unit gets. Also, you're going to have to work on a pricing strategy. Now, the more unique your product is, the higher you'll be able to price it, because it will be, one of a kind item, and customers would be happy to pay a higher price for something that they can't find anywhere else. However, if your product is very similar or pretty much the same thing that's out there already, then there's this automatic competition on price and, you know, who can go the lowest. So building a strong brand can definitely allow you to price your product slightly higher, just because customers get used to your quality, especially if your quality is better than other brands. And a good example of this is my clothing brand, Ucht London, because we manufacture our own stuff in our own factory. So our quality, alhamdulillah, is incomparable. Also, when you're calculating your cost, ensure to include any other components to your product. For example, if your product is a very unique product that requires a mold for the product to be made in the first place. So a mold is something that the manufacturer will make so that they can pour in the metal or the plastic or whatever to shape your product into the shape that you need it to be. The mold usually costs anything from 30 to £100, depending, of course, on, you know, exactly how large it is and what materials are required. But also for clothing, for example, you'll need labels, tags, and don't forget packaging. Packaging for different types of products will vary depending on how custom the packaging is, and also packaging that you will be sending out the product to your customers in. So I've also compiled a list of different packaging manufacturers, from boxes and polymailers to other unique packaging types that you could use for a variety of different products. And I've also linked the packaging manufacturer list under this video. So the fourth step is to make your sample. And ideally, if you can afford, make a sample with multiple manufacturers. That way you can compare the quality, the craftsmanship, the, you know, attention to detail, and the quality at the end that you will receive. That way you can go ahead with the best manufacturer that provided the best sample. Also, this is the best time to actually look into any sort of patent you might need, copyright, or any other legal requirements that you might need for your product. This will vary from country to country, but, you know, Google is the best place to find these things out. So as you're waiting for your sample, make sure you are starting to build your brand. Make sure you're utilizing this time for branding, building your brand, registering your domain and, you know, different social media accounts. And again, if you require any help with branding, feel free to reach out. So once you've received your sample, you can start testing it, seeing its durability, see how long it lasts, wash it if it's a piece of clothing, see how the fabric holds up. And if you're happy with the sample, then you can go to step 5, which is mass producing your product. And ideally, I recommend first producing it at MOQ, at the minimum order quantity threshold that the manufacturers would accept your order at. Don't produce any more than that, because at the end of the day, you're always going to have to adjust your product and make it better based on the feedback that your customers will be giving you. So just start with the minimum order quantity first. Once the manufacturer is producing the product, you can also find an external inspection agency that's in that country, and they can go and visit the factory and actually go through the products and see if it's meeting your requirements and your standards. And whilst you're waiting for the production can take anywhere from 10 to 15 to 30 days to manufacture, again depending on the products, but a decent supplier can definitely manufacture everything within 30 days. So use this time to make lots of different types of content using your sample, build a waiting list of customers that are ready to buy your product, and maybe even offer an early bird discount for anybody who actually signs up and is ready to buy that product. And once you've got your stock, you're ready to launch, and hopefully you'll have loads of customers that are ready to purchase. And then it's time to work on scaling your business. So step number 6 is to market, because at the end of the day, marketing is what's really going to bring you sales. There's organic forms of marketing and there's paid forms of marketing. And as you're selling your product, make sure you're getting reviews from your customers and feedback from your customers. But definitely, once you've got your own products and you have manufactured it, listen to your customers' feedback and adjust your product every single time that you manufacture it again, so you're constantly improving your product. And use a diverse marketing strategy to promote your product in order to scale your business. And if you need help with marketing, feel free to reach out to Muslim Business Services. I'll link us down below, inshallah. So I hope this video was helpful, inshallah, and I wish you all the best with your business. Assalamu alaikum.